If you're like me, you may have found yourself in a situation where you felt discriminated against but weren't sure why. Or maybe you didn't know how to put into words what was actually going on. Today we're going to talk about disability discrimination and what exactly that is. I'll define disability discrimination according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. We'll talk about what that might actually look like in real life, some examples, and I'll also share what your options are if you feel you've been discriminated against. Make sure to stick around for the end of the video. I'm going to walk you through a quick 5-minute process of filing a complaint online. It's super easy. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like, so stick around. If you're new here, I'm Taylor with Mom on the Spectrum. I discovered I was autistic at age 31. This was after I spent my whole life up to that point wondering what the heck was different about my brain and why didn't anybody understand me. I finally got a professional diagnosis, realized there were very limited resources that were targeted at adults, specifically females and moms. So I started my channel as a way to connect other autistic people to resources that might be helpful. I'm always open to suggestions for future video content, and I'd love it if you could help me connect to the autistic community and people who need these resources. You can do it so easily by giving this video a thumbs up and also making sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I know everybody says like and subscribe, but there's a reason we say it. That's the #1 thing you can do to help any YouTube channel that you support. Today, I'm wearing some new threads. One of my goals this year was to choose more sustainable clothing options. Yesterday, I visited our Goodwill shop, which is a place where you can donate used items. I went there yesterday and found this amazing gem. Yes. So if you're looking to choose more sustainable options this year, one simple way to do that is to try to find clothing at donation-based organizations or resale shops. I got this bad boy for 91 cents. Okay, so unfortunately, I am making this video this week based on personal experience. Womp womp. I was discriminated against a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of shocking to me. I'm sure it's happened before, but this was a very blatant form of discrimination, and I wanted to do something about it. So I'm here today to share my experience, to walk you through what that was like for me, and I actually went through the process of filing a complaint, and it was way easier than I thought it would be, and offers more resources than I was expecting. So I wanted to make sure that I reached out and shared that with the autistic community, and when I asked if that would be helpful on my Instagram, everybody was like, yes, I would really like to know about that. Which one, makes me sad that we all need to know about that, but two, makes me glad that I have some information that I can share with you. So first of all, I want to say, please bear with me with the term disability in this video. I know that's a very touchy word. I know we all have different opinions about whether or not to use disability, especially regarding autistic people. Some people like to refer to it as a different ability. Some people definitely relate to it being a disability. However you view it in your life, I'm asking that you send some grace my way right now as we use the term disability when referencing autism, because that is the legal term that we have to work with within the Americans with Disabilities Act. And in order to take advantage of the protection that that offers, I'm choosing to discuss autism as a disability in that light today. Second thing, real quick before we jump into all of this, I personally feel like if you can resolve an issue of discrimination without filing a complaint, if you can resolve it through discussion, which I know can be very intimidating, I feel like that is the best catalyst for change. I don't feel like people change very often because of a slap on the wrist or because they get in trouble. I feel like if people really change their actions and change their behaviors, it's because they connect to the effect of their actions and see how that affects another person. I tried to sort out my situation with discussion, and it was not met with any sort of I'll meet you halfway type of thing. In fact, I actually think it's more of a bullying scenario, and I'm not going to get too far into that today for personal reasons, but it became clear to me that this person wasn't interested in learning or changing. And that's when I felt like in order to protect people who might interact with this person down the road, I need to take a step forward to make sure that something's being done to address his behavior. I'll give you a brief snapshot of what happened. I was contacted by a person in an authority role, and they wanted to have a phone call with me. I, at that time, didn't feel like I was capable of having a phone conversation, and I actually chose, I debated for a little bit, but I chose to disclose, said I'm autistic. I would really prefer if we could do this over email today. I'm just not having a day where I feel like a phone conversation is available to me. And the response back was, no, we will call you at the originally scheduled time. There's a lot more to the story in this case that I just can't share online via YouTube, but I did learn a lot from this experience, and that's what I'm here to share with you today. Let's do it. Okay, first of all, what is disability discrimination or disability harassment? You might hear it as either one of those things. Disability discrimination means treating individuals differently because of their disability, perceived disability, or association with a disabled person. This could include things like discriminating on the basis of physical or mental disability in various aspects, including recruitment, firing, hiring, training, job assignments, promotions, that type of thing. Could be harassing an employee on the basis of a disability. It could be asking job applicants questions about their past or current medical conditions. It could be creating or maintaining a workplace that includes substantial physical barriers to the movement of people with physical disabilities. And it can be refusing to provide reasonable accommodations for employees with physical or mental disabilities that would allow them to work. The most common types of discrimination are direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, failure to make reasonable adjustments, and harassment. I think I count kind of oddly. Direct discrimination occurs when you're treated worse than someone else in a similar situation because of your disability. The information I'm sharing right now is from workplacefairness.org, which I'll provide a link to in the description. So an example of direct discrimination could be a family coming to eat at a restaurant and their child has cerebral palsy, and the restaurant owner asks the family to eat outside but won't let them dine in the main dining area. That's pretty blatant discrimination, direct discrimination. Indirect discrimination occurs when there's a particular policy that affects people with disabilities unequally. I'm going to read this example. A local authority, such as a health department, makes a flyer about its services for residents. In order to save money, it doesn't produce an easy-to-read version. This makes it more difficult for someone with a learning disability to access the information and services, which could amount to indirect discrimination. This type of discrimination is unlawful unless your employer can establish a good reason for this policy. The third type of discrimination is the failure to make reasonable accommodations. As an example, an employee with impaired mobility may need a closer parking spot. However, the employer, knowing of this need, refuses to provide one. Harassment occurs when someone treats, taunts, or antagonizes you in a way that makes you feel humiliated or offended. For example, if you were to be repeatedly called names at your workplace based on your disability, that's harassment. Next topic, what is the Americans with Disabilities Act? Obviously, if you don't live in America, this isn't something that's going to apply to you, but whenever I was doing my research, I did find that there are different versions of this throughout the world. I don't know, based on where you live, what that looks like, but I just want to offer the fact that there's hope for those of you who live in other countries that you are also protected under something similar. The Americans with Disabilities Act, otherwise known as the ADA, it's a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in everyday activities. The ADA prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability, just as other civil rights laws prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, age, and religion. The ADA guarantees that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to enjoy employment opportunities, purchase goods and services, and participate in state and local government programs. So this doesn't just relate to employment. This relates to purchasing things in public, participating in government programs. It relates to a lot of different areas of life, which we're going to get into. How does the ADA define someone with a disability? A person with a disability is someone who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, has a history or record of such an impairment, or is perceived by others as having such an impairment. If a person falls into any of these categories, the ADA protects them. This is important because the ADA is a law and not a program. You do not need to apply for coverage. Everyone is automatically covered. Here are examples of disabilities. Again, please extend your grace towards this list as we are working within the legal framework of the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have suggestions you would like to offer for different terminology that we could begin incorporating that would better suit the needs of this community, please feel free to drop that information in the comments. I love having those conversations with you, and I agree we need to change the wording about the way some things are talked about. Okay, this is not a full list of what all is covered with the ADA, but some examples include cancer, diabetes, PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, which I know a lot of us struggle with, HIV, autism, cerebral palsy, deafness or hearing loss, blindness or low vision, epilepsy, mobility disabilities, such as requiring the use of a wheelchair, a walker, or a cane, intellectual disabilities, major depressive disorder, or a traumatic brain injury. And again, the ADA covers many other conditions that are not listed in that list right there. These are the areas in which ADA prevents discrimination. Employers, state and local governments, businesses that are open to the public, commercial facilities, I'm counting weird again, and telecommunication companies. they all have to follow the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Here are some examples of disability rights issues: communication with people with disabilities, criminal justice, education, employment, healthcare, physical accessibility, segregation of people with disabilities, service animals, technology, transportation, and voting. Okay, this is what led me to learning more about all of this week. The Americans with Disabilities Act provides an important tool to fight discrimination. You can file a complaint online with a federal agency that will help you pursue legal action if needed. It's totally free and it takes like 5 minutes to do this online, and I'm actually going to walk you through step by step with video feed at the end of this video. Okay, who can you file a complaint against? If you believe that you or someone else was discriminated against based on a disability, you can file an ADA complaint against a state government or local government, such as a public hospital, a public school, or another state or local government program. You can also file a complaint against a private business that serves the public, such as a restaurant, doctor's office, shop, or hotel. And again, that list is a short list. There are many more things that could fit under either of those categories. Okay, this is where you would go to file a complaint. So if it's an employment complaint, you would work with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. I'm going to post a link to these websites in the description below. If it involves air travel, you would want to work with the Department of Transportation. If it involves discrimination involved in housing, for example, denied housing or denied an accessible living space based on disability, you would work with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Complaints involving anything else, you would file with the Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, which is what we're going to cover specifically today. But I'll post links for the other options in the description. To file with the Department of Justice, there's 3 options. You can file online, which is what I did and is super simple. You can file by mail. I can put that address in the description if that would be helpful. Or a fax, if anybody still uses a fax machine. That's available, just saying. Part of what I really appreciated about the process was it was very straightforward and very informative about what to expect. So after I filed the complaint, I had very detailed instructions of what to expect next. They actually got back to me pretty quickly, I would say within a week. In the email response I received from them, I also appreciated that it said, regardless of whether or not we choose to move forward with your issue, we really appreciate you bringing this to our attention, because even if we don't go forward with further action, we keep a record of all of the complaints and we start to learn more of what to look for in these communities and how we can help protect people that have these conditions. Regardless of whether or not anything actually happens, you can know that by filing a complaint, you're helping the Department of Justice learn about ways to protect our communities. And I wish I would have mentioned this at the beginning, this process is anonymous. So your name is not shared with the person that you file a complaint against, and they don't give any of your personal information to anyone. So part of what they offered after I filed the complaint was suggesting that some issues might be best served with the ADA Mediation Program. This process does not involve the courts. It says that it typically involves 1 or more meetings between you and the organization you complained about and an impartial mediator, and it's designed to help you reach a mutual agreement. It can be a fair and quick way to resolve ADA complaints without the court. It's confidential and voluntary. Totally voluntary. So if they approach you after you file your complaint and say, hey, we really recommend mediation, and you feel like that's outside of what you feel comfortable with, all you have to say is no thank you, I don't want to go through with that, and then they'll drop it. But if you do want help, that's something where they would stand beside you the whole way and make sure that you're supported during the process. And then it says if they decide to investigate the complaint, an investigator or an attorney would contact you to get more information. The department will not give your name or other personal information to anyone unless it is necessary for enforcement activities or is required by the law. Transition. So now let me show you how to fill out this form quick and easy. Again, this is the website you would use if your complaint does not involve housing, air travel, or employment. This is everything else. Okay, you're gonna go to civilrights.justice.gov/report. Again, don't freak out, I'm gonna put everything in the description. Okay, you're gonna see this form. You're gonna scroll down. Obviously, I'm gonna put in all fake information, but I'm not gonna submit this. So first, you're gonna give them your contact information. Contact information. Okay, after that, have you ever been an active duty service member? No, not for me. What is your primary reason for contacting the Civil Rights Division? And then it's going to give you some examples. Workplace discrimination, housing discrimination, discrimination at school, education program or service, mistreated by police, voting rights, discriminated against in a commercial location or public place, or something else happened. So I don't know, maybe you can try to file a complaint for those different areas through this site. I don't know, it couldn't hurt to try. Such an easy form to fill out. Okay, location details. You'll want to be as specific as you can in this part. Where did this act of discrimination happen against you? Then click next. Personal characteristics. Do you believe any of these personal characteristics influenced why you were treated this way? You can select one of those if you feel like any of them apply. Then you're going to enter the date when this happened, and then a personal description of what happened. So you have 500 words to describe the event. Then you have the opportunity to review your report before you submit anything. Make sure you don't have any typos in there. And then you can hit submit, which I obviously didn't do this time because it's all fake information. And then right after that, I believe it sends you an email confirmation. It also provides next steps and things to think about or process while you're waiting for a response. Super quick and easy process. I hate that we even have to talk about it, but it is really nice that there is an option out there and an agency that will operate on our behalf to help us get justice. If you found this helpful, what other types of services do you feel like you could use help navigating? If you've been on this channel for a while, you saw that recently I created an emergency card that people on the spectrum can print out and keep with them in case of emergency. You can just hand it to a law enforcement officer, doctor, emergency care worker to help inform them of the type of care that you need to receive in those situations. Are there more resources like that that could be helpful to you if I created them? That emergency card, which I call the ICE card, is available to download for free, and I will put a link to that in the description. Lots of links going on today. Also on my resources page, in addition to that emergency card, I also have my Meltdown Survival Guide, which I'm super proud of. It's an 11-page guide that you can download. It is donation-based, and all of the proceeds go towards helping me run the channel. I'm so proud of it. I created it to help us navigate autistic meltdowns. If you're on the spectrum, you know that we can get overwhelmed pretty easily, and our nervous system starts working against us. Sounds start sounding too loud, lights might be too bright, food might not taste good. It's very easy for our sensory intake to become overwhelmed. My 11-page Meltdown Survival Guide offers coping strategies for how to get through a meltdown, tactics for identifying when a meltdown is approaching, how to recover after a meltdown, and what is actually happening when we're having a meltdown. So if you're interested in any of that information, you can go to this page, link in the description. You can also support this channel through PayPal, paypal.me/momonthespectrum. Thank you so much to those of you who are donating. If you don't know this about me, I'm in the middle of a huge career transition, trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing with my life, and in the process, I have fallen in love with this channel and creating content for the autistic community, getting to know y'all, interacting with y'all, learning from y'all. I love it. I don't have a clue what I'm doing in my professional life, but I'm here, and I really appreciate all of the support that you offer. If it's just a thumbs up or a comment below, subscribing to the channel, however you show up for this community, I really appreciate it, and I really believe that it helps advance more truth and knowledge and understanding about how autism presents and how we can better serve the autistic community. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.